Hadassah, the cheetah, moved like a whisper through the hot desert sands. Her golden fur shimmered in the sun, and her paws left barely a print. She had followed the people of Israel since they crossed the Red Sea. They marched during the day, camped at night, and sang songs of freedom. But today, their songs had stopped. Hadassah's ears twitched. Something was wrong. The people were slowing down, dragging their feet through the dunes. Children cried. Mothers looked worried. A man stumbled and sat in the sand. There's no food, someone said. Why did we leave Egypt just to starve? Hadassah tilted her head. She hadn't seen anyone gather grain or hunt. Their sacks were nearly empty. Hunger had arrived. As night fell, Hadassah crouched on a rocky ridge and looked down at the camp. Fires flickered low. The people grumbled in small clusters. Moses and Aaron stood near the center, their faces solemn. Hadassah crept closer, curious. Moses lifted his hands and prayed. Then he spoke to the people. God has heard your cries. He will send food, quail this evening and bread in the morning. Hadassah blinked. Bread. In the desert. She didn't understand. There were no trees with fruit, no fields with wheat. How could there be bread? But something about Moses's voice made her heart settle. He sounded certain, like he knew God would do it. She curled up beneath a bush and watched the stars, wondering what the morning would bring. That evening, the wind shifted. From the sky, a cloud of birds fluttered down. Quail. The camp came alive with surprise and joy. People hurried to gather them. Laughter rang out as fires were lit and food was prepared. Hadassah watched in awe. He did it, she whispered. God really sent food. By morning, the camp was quiet again. The sun had barely risen when Hadassah noticed something new on the ground. Tiny white flakes lay on the sand, soft, round, and shining like dew. The people stepped out of their tents and stared. What is it? They asked. Moses smiled. It is the bread God promised. Gather only what you need for today. The people bent low and filled jars and baskets with the sweet flakes. Some tasted it and gasped. It's like honey wafers. Hadassah padded close and sniffed the manna. It smelled warm and sweet. She licked a bit from a stone and purred in surprise. It was delicious. Not too much, not too little, just enough. Each family gathered just what they needed. No one was left out. The ones who tried to keep extra for the next day found it spoiled and full of worms. But the next morning, more manna appeared. Fresh again. Hadassah watched this miracle day after day. Always enough. Always on time. Hadassah started rising with the sun to watch the manna fall. It came like a gift from heaven. Quiet and faithful. She marveled at how God cared for the people. Even when they complained, He didn't forget them. He didn't leave them hungry. He gave them what they needed. One day at a time. One morning, Hadassah noticed a family still asleep as the sun rose higher. The manna melted quickly in the heat. By the time they came out, it was gone. The children cried. The parents looked worried. Hadassah watched as a neighbor shared some of their own. Don't wait too long, the woman said kindly. Hadassah's heart warmed. God's provision often came with kindness too. Later that day, a few people whispered and planned. They wanted to gather double the next morning and save it. Hadassah crouched nearby, ears perked. When they tried it, the manna spoiled just like before. Hadassah wrinkled her nose at the sour smell. "One day at a time," she whispered. "God means what he says." But on the sixth day, something different happened. Moses told the people to gather twice as much, because the next day was the Sabbath, a day of rest. "There won't be manna tomorrow," he said. "Bake and prepare it today." Hadassah tilted her head. Would it spoil again? The people obeyed. They cooked extra, stored it carefully, and waited. The next morning, Hadassah padded softly through camp. No flakes on the ground. But when families opened their jars from the day before, no worms, no stink. The manna was perfect. God's plan had worked exactly as he said. From that day on, Hadassah knew the rhythm. Gather each morning. Rest on the seventh. She loved the quiet of the Sabbath. No scurrying feet. No grumbling. Just songs and stories. It reminded her that God didn't just provide food. He gave time for peace too. Hadassah began walking with the slowest families, keeping an eye on the ones who struggled to gather quickly. She'd nudge dropped baskets or lead little ones to flakes hidden in the shade. She couldn't speak, but her actions sang with care. God was using her speed and watchfulness to help. One day, a small child offered Hadassah a piece of manna. "For you," he said shyly. She accepted it gently and purred. It tasted just as sweet as ever. But even sweeter was the love in that simple act. Hadassah knew the child was learning trust, just like she was. As weeks turned to months, the people kept moving through the wilderness, and Hadassah stayed with them. Every morning brought fresh manna. Every evening brought rest. And every step reminded her that God was leading them, even when the path was long. Sometimes, when the people complained again, Hadassah would sit quietly nearby and wait. She had seen enough to know that God always came through, even when they didn't deserve it. He was faithful. She had tasted it herself. One evening, Hadassah stood on a rocky hill, the camp stretching far below. Fires glowed, voices sang softly, and the stars blinked overhead. She looked down at the bead tied around her neck and smiled. She had learned to trust, to wait, and to remember. God's timing was always perfect. Hadassah learned that God always provides what we need, right on time, even in hard places. He gives enough for today and rest for tomorrow. We can trust him every step of the way. Key verse. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. Each day the people are to go out and gather enough for that day." Exodus chapter 16. 4. NIV. Hadassah walked along the edge of the camp as the people settled in for the night. She looked back at the path behind them. So long, so dry, yet always filled with daily grace. The ground might have been rough, but God's provision had never missed a day. Hadassah whispered in her heart, "You are always on time, Lord." She lay under a low tree near the edge of the camp, the desert breeze brushing her fur. Above her, the stars glittered like manna in the sky. She thought of all the mornings she had risen early and found the ground sprinkled with God's goodness. No matter what the day held, God had never failed. Not once. Hadassah learned that God always provides what we need, right on time, even in hard places. He gives enough for today and rest for tomorrow. We can trust Him every step of the way. Key verse. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. Each day the people are to go out and gather enough for that day. Exodus chapter 16. 4. NIV.